I remember being told this by my grandfather when I was young. Many years ago, when my mother was young, she used to pass through a narrow street next to a park, going to school. On the Monday, she told her father, a dirty old man was being rude to her from the park next to the street she was walking down, suggesting terrible things, not for the ears of a young girl. So she ran. This apparently happened most of the week, the dirty man being rude, following her from the park to near her school. On the Friday, she was so relieved he wasn't there. As she continued to walk to school, she seen a figure of a man in a ball off flames in the park following her, as the dirty man had did through the week. She turned and ran home. My grandfather had had enough. He went to investigate what had been happening all week, yet no one knew anything. My mum was so distressed that weekend, she swore she was going to be taken away by this person, and was so frightened by the figure in flames. My granddad had bought her a new wardrobe for her bedroom that same week. That Saturday night she went to bed, woke up screaming after 3 a.m. about a man in flames coming to get her. My granddad ran to her to comfort her. Next morning he smelled smoke in the house. He checked all the rooms and found nothing. Then he pulled out the new wardrobe, and the back of it was scorched like it was on fire. On the Monday, on her way to school, an old man S. house had set fire the night previous. On that same street she walked every morning. He was burnt to death.
My high school friend was super into Ouija boards, but I don't like them as I believe they can open portals or summon things you aren't meant to. She came over to my house with one, begging to use it because the house I grew up in always feels off. I finally caved and said she could, but I was claiming no energy from it and I'm not involved. As a side note, this was in the early 2000s when we still had house phones. And I had my own portable house phone that would ring at a base and on the phone itself. At the same time, all the other phones rang, and mine had caller ID on the phone. Well, when she started to use the board, she asked for a sign something was with us. A few seconds later, my handheld phone started ringing. ONLY, my phone, not the base or the other phones. When I picked it up to look at the caller ID, it read 66666666666, and the name was missing, just the number. Needless to say, I freaked out. She freaked out, and we immediately stopped. I don't think she ever picked up an Ouija board again.
My brother and I were both jump-scared by the same old black and white lady in the exact same way when we were both 5 or 6 years old. Bear in mind I'm 22 and he's 17, so this didn't happen around the exact same time. Apparently when she jump-scared him, she also approached silently at first, then dashed right in front of his face, all while maintaining a blank stare. When we told each other about this, he said, "She screamed at you too, right?" But when I said no, he started freaking out, since he's very materialist and intended to catch me out with that. Since then, he's not 100% sure that it was, but we're positive it was something, especially since it's not the first thing we've seen in this house.
This one is my favorite. This memory I have from childhood crosses my mind fairly often. It was of the day. My friend and I went and explored farther into the woods behind my house than we ever had before. We must have been around 10 years old. We've never crossed the creek before, so we did. My choice. He was always a little scared, and I was always the more daring one. We crossed the creek and explored a little bit, and we ran into 3 girls. They were dressed all the same, dresses that looked like they from a much older decade. For some reason, we walked towards them, and the 3 of them ran up a hill. We climbed up shortly after them, and when we got to the top, they were nowhere to be found. The woods were not dense, and the trees were very thin, so thin that they couldn't to hide behind any. My friend and I both freaked out and ran home. I thought about it so much till this day, that I just chalked it up to my mind playing tricks on me, and that I exaggerated what had happened, or what I saw. 2 years ago, I went to his father's funeral. Hadn't talked to him in years. After the funeral and service, we were catching up for a while in the parking lot after everyone else had left. At one point in the conversation, he randomly says, "Hey, do you remember when we saw those freaky girls in the woods and we followed them up the hill, they just disappeared?" Still gives me goosebumps to this day.
One night I got off work, and it was a week or so after my daughter's 2nd birthday. Well, all of the helium balloons had deflated and been thrown away besides one. Well, I was sitting in my room eating some dinner, and this balloon floated into my room. Now I know what you're thinking. Airflow, dummy, no. No. No airflow would have created a flight pattern that this balloon was preforming. Anyways, I was spooked and decided to talk to it, convinced it was my grandma. It hung out above my head, kind of bobbing up and down until I told it to touch my hand. Anyways, I popped it and threw it away. Still have videos of this incident. Cannot explain what happened.
I lived in Gail Dabowski's childhood home for 9 years. She was one of the victims of the 2008 NIU Valentine's Day shooting. I experienced many ghostly occurrences over the years. The wildest was the brand new RC Bobby car that drove itself. We hosted friends for a holiday party and someone gave my girlfriend's daughter the RC car. She played with it a bit in her room and then she, my girlfriend, and girlfriend's BFF decided to watch the original animated Grinch in her room. Shortly after the movie started, I hear all three of them scream. Like really scream in pure terror. I go rushing into the room to see what happened and they claim the RC car drive itself into the closet door. Backed up, drove into the door again. They claimed it did that 3 to 4 times and it was like someone was holding it, moving it back and forth, ramming it into the door. I laughed and said, it's probably still on and picking up a signal from something like a smartphone. I picked it up, flipped it over and I was wrong. It was set to OFF. I set it back down and it took off right out of my hand, driving itself into the closet door. I jumped back stunned. Let what had just happened sink in for a second. Wished him luck with watching the rest of movie. And a year later I'm talking at the fence with my neighbor and telling her all about the ghost. She tells me about Gail and how she died. Then she informs me that Gail was a huge Barbie fan and collected Barbie stuff all the way until she left for college.